Hi, everybody. I was watching the YouTube screen and I didn't see any. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks. All right. I've got some exciting news. So let's start right away. My name is Charlie. I work at Wiki-based Solutions as well, just like the previous two colleagues. And the first thing I want to mention here is that as of a small month ago, we have OpenCSP running on Canasta. Now I'm doing a talk about a new extension, but at the end you'll notice why I mentioned OpenCSP as well. You can go to the OpenCSP website, documentation, OpenCSP, and then you've got instructions on how to get OpenCSP on Canasta. And that's really interesting because a lot of people have been asking for this, and it's working fine and very easily as well. So have a look and try it out. Then there's a new extension that we've made. We've called it SlotWeaver. It's a MediaWiki extension and a maintenance script. And basically what this does, it allows you to manipulate content of your pages. You can manipulate, if there's templates on your page, or your content of the page, you can manipulate those templates. You can manipulate templates within slots. You can manipulate non-template text, just like normal text. And basically the idea for this is that you can grab content, do stuff with it, and kind of change your whole wiki if necessary. That's kind of the idea. Let's take it to the next slide. You can use SlotWeaver as a simple full regex replace functionality. We already have ReplaceText, which is an extension. Basically, you could do the same with this as well. But what you can also do is if you have like a standard MediaWiki website and you want to turn that into a Semantic MediaWiki website, then you will need to start editing all your pages because you want semantic data on the pages, you need to define those, etc., etc. You can use this tool to do it for you. And same thing for OpenCSP, and I'll explain that a little bit in the next slide. So the idea here is, on the left side is like a normal MediaWiki page. You got a page header, you got a page footer, and you've got the main content. And you can have gadgets and all the stuff and extra stuff in your main content, but you only have one main content. If you press edit, you get the visual editor, and all your metadata, all the normal text, everything will be inside your main content, and you will need to work with that as soon as you edit your main content. Now, the whole idea of OpenCSP is to extract metadata and all the data that's basically not main content, extract that from your main content and put it into MCR slots. Now, MCR slots, I've talked about that a couple of times. It comes with MediaWiki, and basically it allows you to put extra information in slots which are not the main content. So by default, not shown when the page is rendered. And you can see that on the right side. Same page header, same page footer. But the main content, we can split that up if we want to. That's what we do with OpenCSP. So we got a subheader, again, the main content, made it a little bit smaller just to exaggerate, a sidebar, and like an extra footer, like a sub footer. But we can store the information that is in the subheader, the sidebar, and the pre-footer in specific slots. And we can still show it, of course. But the good thing about this is that if you click edit and visual editor starts, or you click source edit, the only thing you will actually edit is the part that's inside the main content. And that's very important because all the metadata, like a normal user needs to edit the page, he doesn't need to worry about all the metadata that belongs to the page. It needs to, the editor needs to be focusing on the text. So that's what we've done here. And as you can see already, the idea is that if you have on the left side your main content and you want to do something like what looks like on the right side, that's a lot of manual stuff, a lot of manual work that you have to do. take content from the main content, put it like in the subheader or in the sidebar, etc., etc. Now that's the whole idea for this extension. So SlotWeaver, what are the features of this? Basically, it works with MCR slots, and you can move or copy content from the main slot to other slots, or from slots to slots, whatever you want to do. It works with templates, so you can actually get the variables in the template and put them in other templates, or even in other slots. When you're done with moving the variables in your template, you can delete the templates, or you can leave them, or you can just take out the variables you don't need anymore. Other things you can do is, like, say you want to find the first template or the last template that's on a page, because you're not sure what the name will be, but you know that it will always be the first or the last template. So there's a lot of things you can do with templates, and also plain content, I mean. And you can do a simple find between, or use a regex to find text in your main content, basically, and do actions with that. So I've used find between, and I've got a result. What should I do with that? Well, move it or copy it, or I store it as a value in the template. There's a lot of things you can do with that. So here's a kind of an example of the previous page. So on the left side, a MediaWiki page. On the right side is what you're trying to do. As you can see, the main content has some text, it has a template, it has a category setting, and it has some text within spans. With SlotWeaver, we can actually say, okay, well, I want the template gone, and I want all the variables in the template, I want that in my sidebar slot, in a new template called sidebar. I want the category gone, and I also want to have that as in the sidebar template as a variable category, because the template might set semantic properties, for instance. So you won't be needing categories anymore. You just set properties in Semantic MediaWiki, which is, if you ask me, way much easier. And then we take the text, which can be found within spans, and put that in the footer, and put that in a template called additional info, and a variable called extracted content, and then, as you can see, testing and testing2 will be there as a comma-separated value. So there's a lot of things you can do there for this. Now, as you can see, this is going to take a lot of work, right? I mean, you have to define a config for SlotWeaver and tell it what to do. Now, that's done through a JSON. Now, this is a bit small, so I hope you kind of can see it. Basically, what you do is SlotWeaver will parse the JSON from top to bottom. So you can create. You start saying, like, okay, I want to work on the main content. I want you to find the first template that's available, and and then tell it, give it some actions. And as soon as it does that and it's finished, then it also in memory has already done that. So then you can take to the next step and the next step and the next step, and you can create as many steps as needed for your content. Now, to test this, because this can be very involved, and if you run this and you change 1,000 pages and you did something wrong, you need to unchange that. So there's a special page within the SlotWeaver extension where you can just paste your JSON and tell it what kind of page to look for and run the test on it. And you'll get a visual representation in the special page showing you every single step it does, and also shows you what it does with the content. So if you say, get rid of, get rid of template test, which is on the left side, and move it into the sidebar slot, you will actually see that here. It says, okay, I found it, I found these variables, deleting them and putting them in another slot. So you can test it to every single detail that you need before you actually run the maintenance script that will actually do all the work for you. And it's pretty quick, I can tell you that. So, what's the status on SlotWeaver? SlotWeaver, we've been using it for like half a year now, I think, well, 3 months, I guess. It's been tested, there's documentation. The only thing I would like to do is, because I can see people wanting to add more possibilities, you know, more things you can define in the JSON, more actions, more things you want to do with it. So I want to add an easy way of extending the capabilities. And I'm doing this presentation because if there's interest, we would probably like to release this as for the community. And most likely it will be part of the OpenCSP, just like FlexForm and PageSync, those kind of extensions we already released. Purely because OpenCSP, it makes sense. If you have a website, a wiki website that you want to turn into an OpenCSP website because you want to, you know, have the metadata separately and all those kind of things, it'll take some work if you have to do that manually. It would be awesome if you would get SlotWeaver with that and you just can straight away go and do this. So yeah, I'm just going to see if there's interest in this extension and what the feedback is, and then most likely we'll put it open source. So that's it for my presentation. So if anyone has some questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Great, thank you, Charlie. Does anyone have questions? Yeah, question.
Not a question, but feedback. I'd love it if this was released.
Okay, one, yeah.
Also feedback, I believe the GPL mandates its release.
Oh, man.
Okay. One person says
It's based on MediaWiki. It cannot operate without MediaWiki. MediaWiki is GPL. It has to be released.
I think if it's released, it has to be under GPL. It doesn't need to.
Oh, that is true. If they give it to a customer, the customer can request.
Sorry, Charlie. There's some discussion going on here. There's some would-be legal discussion happening about whether you need to release it. But anyway, I don't think you do. But there's feedback that people are looking forward to seeing this released.
Okay, well, any specific questions though?
No, for questions from YouTube. Yeah, well, yeah, I had a question. I mean, could it wasn't quite a demo, but you had a screenshot. Can you show that again? I mean, how does it work to, you know, add additional slots? I couldn't figure that part out.
Well, the additional slots, that's different, right? So
Oh, okay.
use extensions called WS slots where you can easily create the slots that you need. And if you have your slots defined, then you can actually, you know, tell SlotWeaver that to put information in it.
Okay, that makes sense. So this works sort of in conjunction with another extension, WS slots.
Well, there's other ways of setting slots, but WS slots, I think, is a very common and very much used extension, because in your local settings you can just define what slots you want to use for your pages. So it's really handy and very easy to use. So yeah, so you probably, if we release SlotWeaver, we should mention that, you know, that make sure that you have your slots set up to use. But it's all plain MediaWiki. Should be fine.
Yeah, great. We have another question. Yeah, another question.
We have time for it?
Yes.
Okay. So Charlie may have already mentioned this. Charlie, you may have already mentioned this at the beginning of your talk, but slots for a number of us is still a new concept. And I was wondering if you would take just another moment and for the uninitiated, if you could remind us what slots are.
Okay, so there's a page on MediaWiki that explains what MCR, multi-content revision slots, are. But basically, already years ago, MediaWiki introduced these so-called slots. Basically, before that, you had the main content. I'm showing you that on the left side. And that's it. So you store information, and the information is stored in the database as the main content for a page. Now, what MediaWiki has done, it has taken that main content and created, well, not really like that, but it created slots. Basically meaning the main content is saved to the database as always, but you can create slots for your page as well, where you can store additional information that will not be rendered by default. So you could store JSON in a certain slot, or have a template that sets some semantic properties. So those are not rendered, but they are set, and you can actually separate your content from your metadata, which is a very good thing. So for a normal user looking at the page, it will look exactly as it always did, because only the main content is basically rendered. And what we do with OpenCSP, we make it possible to create sidebars, subheaders, and footers, or whatever you need, and we can actually render that as well. So look at if you look on the right side, you've got the main content and you've got the sidebar. The sidebar, now somebody would probably use gadgets to put some metadata information there. But it's all done in the main content slot, and we actually take it out and store it in a slot. And basically, MediaWiki just saves the whole page with all the slots, but it just separates all the information. I hope that kind of makes sense. I don't know a better way to explain that, but yeah, so basically, saving a page, you can now save pages with an additional information that is not the main content. And what's not in the main content is all slots. I hope that's kind of well explained.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
let me know. Yes, yes.
Yes, that made sense. All right. If there are no more questions, thank you very much, Charlie. This was very interesting.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.